World War II is very much a thing. The Battle of Britain, Winston Churchill proclaims in a worldwide broadcast that Britain has to fight this alone. The year is 1940, and things just aren't looking so good. The U.S. Army wants a small, nimble reconnaissance car to replace the horse. Enter American Bantam BRC40. But before getting into all of it, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like, the automotive channel that takes the time to cover cars that don't often get the time of day. Did you ever just want to know more about the history, design of these rolling works of art? We cover the classics, vintage, some exotics, lots of orphan cars, or brands that just don't exist anymore. We post 5 videos a week. Brand new for Wednesdays going forward, it's going to be Engine Episode Wednesday, where we do general overviews of engine families. If you missed any, I put this playlist together called Engine History. Just showing you this because we've grown in the last few months, and I know this homepage definitely needs more pizzazz. I'm working on it, but yeah. So if this looks of interest to you, something that you would totally dig, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. Before getting into this exciting, heroic, and ultimately sad story of the American Bantam BRC40, let's talk American Bantam, the company founded in Butler, Pennsylvania, just over the river and through the woods from my backyard, essentially. Founded by Roy Evans and William Ward Jr., who bought the American Austin Car Company in August of 1935. So we got to go down a bit of a rabbit hole. American Austin Car Company was founded in 1929 and was a product of British Austin Motor Car Company from 1930 to 1934. In 1934, they filed for bankruptcy protection. In 1935, Roy Evans and William Ward Jr. buy the company, originally called Evans Operation Incorporated. They renamed it American Bantam Car Company, getting back to the Austin Company. They were set up from the start in Butler, Pennsylvania. Their mission was to sell the Austin 7 stateside, called the American Austin. The cars were initially successful, and it's no wonder why. The styling was right on point. These were styled like Auburn or Stutz, but in miniature. And this was decades before the Crosley. And to my knowledge, this might be the very first microcar manufacturer in the U.S. If you can think of anybody that came sooner, I'm looking at you, Wild Bill. American Austin was another casualty of the Great Depression. In 1934, they were running out of inventory. They were running out of money. These cars were also a bit pricey at $445, which was a tad less than a brand new Ford with a V8. Evans heard American Austin was to be auctioned off, and he couldn't go. He had other obligations he needed to fulfill, so he sent his lawyer, William Ward Jr., to see if a deal could be made. A deal was made. American Austin land, buildings, equipment, and inventory was to be sold for $5,000 cash, which doesn't sound like a lot of money, but in 2023 dollars is $111,353.65. Still sounds pretty cheap, though. The giant caveat to this deal is they also have to take on the debt that is associated with American Austin, and that debt was $214,099.83, and I don't know if that number's been converted. If it's not converted, it's an eye-watering. Are you sitting down for this? It's $4,768,159.49. Wow, what a deal. Life is all about timing. Evans is at the right place at the right time. That's a bit questionable considering not only do they have to take on the $4.2 million in debt, but the Great Depression is still very much a thing. And to put this in perspective, Hupmobile is still in business at this point in time, as well as Graham, and a lot can happen in just a few years. American Bantam would produce cars, trucks, station wagons. Their claim to fame, besides today's featured car, is the Donald Duck car. 6,000 American Bantams were made until 1943. September 23rd, 1940, Camp Holabird, U.S. Army base just east of Baltimore, Maryland. U.S. Army contacted hundreds of companies to create a small, nimble reconnaissance car. 3 returned back to take on the challenge: American Bantam, Willis Overland, and Ford. Bantam was the only one to turn up with a functioning prototype in the time allotted. This was Genesis for the Jeep. BRC40, which stood for Bantam Reconnaissance Car 1940. And what the U.S. Army was essentially looking for was a small, nimble reconnaissance car to replace the horse. The horse was becoming a big problem. One horse puts out 60 pounds of waste a day. Plus, you have to feed the horse. And if the horse gets struck with bullets, just like humans, they will succumb to being shot. Not to say that the vehicle won't succumb to being shot, but it could be shot and still carry on with its duties. It's important to note that Bantam made two different designs, the BRC40 and the BRC60. The Army also made changes throughout the years, such as like mounting guns and different accessories to the Jeeps themselves. Bantam Jeep was produced from 1940 to 1943. So let's talk specs. 127.25 inches long, 56 inches wide, 72 inches tall, 79 inches is the wheelbase that it rides on. It weighs 2,100 pounds. Price, $1,166, which is equivalent to you spending $25,411.22 in the year 2023. Total BRC40 production was 2,605 units. Moving on to engine, only one engine on offer, tons of conflicting information. Some people say that it's a 112 cubic inch displacement. Other sources said 134 cubic inch displacement, inline 4-cylinder, supplied by Continental Engine Company. It was good for 45 horsepower, 3,500 RPM, 86 pound-feet of torque at 1,600 RPM. It was four-wheel drive. Some were equipped with four-wheel steer. Theoretical top speed of 55 miles per hour backed with a T84 3-speed manual transmission. So this is where the story takes a bit of a nosedive. The U.S. Army perfected the BRC40. The Army gave it the nickname Jeep, and Ford made the iconic Jeep grill. Willis was just sitting there in the shadows, and it's like, yeah, we can totally make this happen. So they totally just undercut Bantam. I mean, Bantam got shafted big time. Bantam cost over $1,000, and Willis told the Army that they could do it for $700. Willis didn't do anything but produce the Jeep. After the war, they wanted to make it their own. Willis knew Bantam didn't have the cash to counter. It's almost like a bully, like a senior punk kid taking a 7th grader's lunch money. And maybe that's why the Jeep brand is kind of cursed. Think about it. Every single company that once owned the Jeep is now gone. You have to ask, is it the company or is it the product? Companies that owned the Jeep that are no longer with us: Bantam, Willis, Kaiser, American Motors, Chrysler, Daimler Chrysler, Chrysler LLC, Fiat Chrysler. Getting back to the American Bantam, they would go on to make trailers for the Jeep. American Bantam was acquired by American Rolling Mills in 1956. So let's talk styling. Just notice all of this around the headlights. Notice the headlights just sit inside this little indentation. The grill is just that. It looks like a grill that you could barbecue on. The bumpers. It's very utilitarian. It only has one hood release on each side. Just look at this fender design. So check out how they put this little line at the end of it. I don't understand why they put this here. It's not really a running board. You wouldn't really step on this to get inside. There isn't any doors on this model. Look at the hinges. And look how straight this windshield is. Two-piece windshield. Super straight. It does crank out. Look at the rear view mirror placement. How it has this rod that comes across. These seats really would hold you. Look, there's a handle to get inside to help you get inside there. Not sure what the little handle's for. I feel like if I put my finger in there, it gets stuck in there. Coming back, look at the rear wheel well. It's not flared, it's very straight. Another handle to help getting into the back. Notice there is a rear seat, but look at how wide these are for the tires, because that's where the tires clearly are. Spare tire mounted at the back. Trailer hitch. You can hook tow accessories up to this to get towed out. The top would sit on those. It doesn't say Bantam anywhere on this, which would be really easy for a company like Willis to steal this design because it doesn't have a name on it. It's a lot harder to steal something when your name's on it. Just saying. The whole body has this like roll to it. And look at how it joins up. There's the brake light situation. It's a really small brake light. Looks like it has backup lights too, but there's only a brake light on the one side. There's other lights or reflectors on the right side, but on the left side there's only one brake light. License plate bracket above it. Here's what visibility looks like out the rear from the front seat with the top off. Coming down inside the pedal box down here, clutch, brake, gas pedal is on the other side over there. Notice the high beam dimmer switch. There's sticky notes for everything, which is great. It says brake lamp only works when lights are on. This one up here, I'm guessing that this engages and disengages two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. It says the push for two-wheel drive and pull for four-wheel with the steering wheel centered. But just take a look at this interior. Here's what over the hood looks like. Here's what first person over the hood looks like. It's weird because where the window is, you're seeing out of the windshield, but all of the gauges and stuff are down way lower. Also, just check out how flat this floor is. Also notice in the back, it rakes up. There's more notes over here. It says rear wheel drive, all wheel drive, low and high. And there's the gear pattern. On to the button switches and knobs, 3 toggle switches. The first one, I have no idea. It's not labeled, but if I was to guess, I would say headlights, fuel pump, ion, starter, speedometer, odometer inside of it. Then the next gauge has the amp meter, oil pressure, gasoline gauge, coolant temperature. Choke is located right below that. Notice it says checker gauges. Bantam didn't have the facilities to build the Bantams needed, so it reached out to Checker Cab to help, and Checker Cab was the one who put in the 4-wheel steer system. Let's take a real quick gander under the hood. Look at how neat everything is under the hood. 6-volt battery, small radiator, oil bath, air cleaner. The engine is nestled in the center of those things, and it's mounted low. Notice the rod going from the radiator to the firewall. On the positive side, rare. This is Genesis for the Jeep and all Jeep-like vehicles that followed it, like Land Rover, Land Cruiser. They all trace their roots back to this machine. Gets decent fuel economy, powered by the Continental engine. Against it, super underrated. This gets overshadowed by Willis knockoff Jeeps, to the point where people think Willis made the Jeep. They just advertised it. That's all they did. They were really good at advertising. Information is very spotty at best. Not many people who know these inside and out are with us. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather. Two scenarios today. Would you rather have a Crosley Farmer Road or an American Bantam BRC40 or a 1940 Ford GPW? I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free to pause the video. Moving to the second scenario, would you rather have a 1935 Bantam convertible or a 1935 Bantam truck or 1935 Bantam station wagon? I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free to pause the video. Moving on to name that tune. First person to get both the name of the band and song title correctly in the comment section will have their comment pinned to the top of it. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below or check out our Facebook group that correlates with this YouTube channel. If you don't have Facebook and would like to reach me, send me an email. All of that will be linked in the description below. Just know I appreciate all of the support. And until next time, toodaloo! She took my money while I'm in need. Man, she's a trifling friend indeed. The gold digger. Well, now, that played on me.